Most people chase money their whole lives and still die feeling broke inside. This audiobook reveals the mindset of the 1%, how they think, move, and reprogram their reality, so wealth becomes automatic. It's not about working harder, it's about thinking differently. Once your mind shifts, your world can't stay the same. Listen and start living like the top 1%. Before we dive in, take a second to hit that like button and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. You might be surprised to find someone listening from the same place as you. The introduction. Listen closely. The next hour can change how you relate to money for the rest of your life. If you want to live like the 1%, you must manage money like the 1%. Most people don't have a money problem. They have a mindset problem. They drift, react, and avoid clarity. The 1% do the opposite. They treat money with respect. They know where every dollar goes, they plan ahead, and they act before chaos strikes. This isn't about millions. It's about mastering attention, because money follows clarity. Money is condensed energy, your time, and focus in physical form. When you leak attention through distraction, you leak wealth. The brain repeats what it knows, yesterday's habits, yesterday's code, unless you interrupt it. Track daily, and your mind becomes a builder. Drift daily, and it becomes a drifter. Awareness is the real starting point. Money flows toward the person with least resistance, fewer excuses, fewer emotional decisions. The 1% reduce friction, with systems automate review. Decide before temptation. It's not flashy, it's stable. Stability demands responsibility, and responsibility brings dignity. When you control your money, you stop fearing bills and stop outsourcing your future to hope. Hope is not a plan. Knowing is. Write down your numbers, all of them. Not to feel bad, but to get honest. Honesty is cleansing. It raises your signal. Even small amounts multiply when handled with respect. If you can't manage 500, you won't manage 5,000. Direction comes before expansion. Your spending isn't math, it's mood. Every swipe tells a story about what you think you lack. Emotional spending trades relief for regret. The 1% choose discipline over dopamine, saying no to temporary pleasure, so they can afford permanent freedom. Freedom is quiet confidence, the power to pause, because you prepared. Treat every dollar like a decision about your future self. Ask, does this build or blur my direction? The pause before purchase is where wealth begins, the space where you rewrite the code. This audiobook will show you how to manage money like the 1% through systems clarity and discipline. You'll build savings that protect peace, use money to buy freedom, not approval, and act rich before you are by thinking like the rich do. No perfection required, just presence. Momentum starts with a single decision. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Clean up your financial mess before it cleans you out. If you want to live like the 1%, you have to start by cleaning up the mess that most people keep hiding from. This is the first truth about money that nearly everyone avoids, not because it's complicated, but because it's confronting. Facing your financial reality is an act of courage. It's also the moment your energy begins to change. When you stop running from the numbers, you stop running from yourself. Most people carry quiet anxiety because they live in financial fog. They guess. They hope. They avoid looking too closely because they fear what they'll find. But hope is not clarity. Hope is a whisper. Clarity is power. The 1% don't hope, they know. They know where every dollar is, where it's going, and why. They understand that awareness is the first vibration of control. Without it, everything else collapses. Sit down with your reality Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Bring every bill, every debt, every subscription, every leak of energy you call expense. Write it down. Look at it. Not to feel ashamed, but to become free. Because avoidance is a spiritual blockage. What you resist, you reinforce. What you face, you can finally transform. This is not punishment. It's purification. The universe rewards honesty. When you stop lying to yourself about your situation, you create a new energetic alignment. You signal to the world, I'm ready to handle what I have. And the universe always gives more to those who handle well what they already hold. Money responds to stewardship, not stress. Maybe what you'll find on that list scares you. Maybe the numbers are ugly. That's okay. Painful clarity is better than comfortable illusion. The wound has to be seen before it can be healed. The moment you write the real numbers down, you are already lighter. You are no longer a victim of confusion. You are a participant in your own evolution. Think of your finances as a mirror. When it's covered in dust, you can't see who you've become. Cleaning it is uncomfortable at first, but as the reflection sharpens, so does your power. Each number you write down is a step toward freedom. Each detail you track is a declaration that you're done being passive. You're taking the wheel. The 1% don't earn their peace by chance. They earn it by mastery of details. They don't wait to feel rich to get organized. They get organized and become rich because of it. They treat each financial review like a sacred ritual, a conversation with their future. When they check their spending, they're not just doing math. They're refining vibration. Numbers are neutral. Your reaction to them decides what happens next. If you've been spending without thinking, that's not failure. That's unconscious programming. Every unconscious act can be rewritten through awareness. Each dollar that leaves your hand carries your intention with it, or your absence of it. And absence has a cost. When you spend unconsciously, you reinforce scarcity. When you spend with presence, you reinforce choice. Choice is freedom in motion. You must stop telling yourself that more income will fix everything. It won't. If you can't manage $500, you won't manage $5,000. Money magnifies mindset. If your foundation is weak, every increase cracks it wider. Clean up now while the stakes are still small, and you'll handle expansion without fear. Start by tracking every expense for the next 30 days. No exceptions. Observe patterns, not just amounts. What emotion drives each purchase? What story are you trying to soothe, right, beside each one? Need, want, or avoidance? You'll begin to see how emotion moves money more than logic. Awareness rewires you one transaction at a time. Then find what drains you for no reason. The unused subscriptions, the impulsive orders, the rewards that keep you broke. Cancel them without guilt. You're not depriving yourself. You're reclaiming power. Every unnecessary charge you remove is a message to your subconscious that you no longer tolerate waste of money or of energy. Don't confuse cutting costs with scarcity. Scarcity is fear-based restriction. Discipline is freedom-based precision. When you cut from purpose, not panic, you shift frequency. You're not saying, I can't afford this. You're saying, I choose better alignment. The 1% understand this difference instinctively. They are not stingy. They are selective. They don't cut to suffer. They cut to strengthen. When you do this, your environment begins to change. You'll start sleeping better. You'll walk differently. Because you've stopped leaking energy into things you no longer believe in. You'll realize that clarity is not just a spreadsheet, it's serenity. It's that deep calm that comes when nothing is hidden. You must also stop the mental habit of avoidance. The longer you avoid, the louder the energy hum of chaos grows beneath everything you do. It clouds your decisions, dulls your intuition, and keeps you reactive instead of creative. Face it now, and you'll feel a physical shift. Your breath deepens, your posture straightens. That's not imagination. That's alignment returning. Every act of organization is an act of self-respect. Every honest look at your numbers strengthens the neural pathway of responsibility. This is neuroplasticity in motion, your brain learning new identity. I am the kind of person who knows. That identity becomes a magnet for opportunities that match it. The universe can't send abundance to confusion. It sends abundance to clarity. So you start today, not when it's easy, not when it's perfect, but now. Gather your bills, open your accounts, face every figure. Forgive yourself for the years of avoidance. You weren't lazy, you were untrained. Now you're awake. The moment you see the full picture, you stop being scared of it. The pain of truth is temporary. The cost of denial is forever. When you clean up your financial mess, you're not just balancing numbers, you're balancing energy. You're aligning the external structure of your life with the internal order of your spirit. That's what the 1% do differently. They live in alignment with truth, not illusion. Clean it up now, not someday. Clean it up with intention. Clean it up for good. Because clarity is freedom, and freedom is wealth in its purest form. Chapter 2. Respect money like the 1%. Do most people never get ahead financially? Because they never build a real relationship with money. They use it, chase it, fear it, but they never respect it. And what you don't respect, you repel. Money is energy. It responds to the way you treat it. When you handle it with care, it flows toward you. When you ignore it, it leaks away. When you worship it, it controls you. But when you respect it, it serves you. Respect begins with awareness. Look at your daily habits. Do you check your accounts often, or do you avoid them? Do you plan your spending, or do you spend, and then justify? Every action speaks. If you treated a friend the way you treat your money, forgetting them, mistreating them, using them only when you feel like it, they would have left a long time ago. Money works the same way. It stays where it feels valued, not where it feels used. To respect money is to understand that it's not paper digits or coins. It's stored life force. You exchanged hours of your existence, fragments of your attention, and the best of your creativity for it. Every dollar carries your energy. So when you waste it carelessly, you waste yourself. The 1% understand this deeply. They don't toss their energy around. They direct it with precision. They know money is a mirror. How you treat it is how you treat your potential. Start by changing the way you speak about it. Words are vibrations, and every time you say, "I'm broke," you instruct your subconscious to stay there. When you say, "Money never stays with me," you confirm it. The 1% never speak like victims. They speak like architects. They say, "I'm learning to manage money wisely." They say, "I respect every dollar I earn and multiply it with intention." This isn't positive thinking. It's energetic programming. Your nervous system listens to your language. Speak as if you are already responsible for abundance, and the brain begins building that identity automatically. Respect is not fear. Fear hides. Respect engages. Fear avoids looking at numbers. Respect reviews them calmly. Fear says, "I can't handle this." Respect says, "I can handle whatever comes." Fear shrinks your options. Respect expands them. The 1% don't avoid financial data because it's uncomfortable. They face it because clarity is comfort. They know exactly what comes in, what goes out, and what stays. They don't need luck. They have structure. and structure is how energy stays stable. One way to cultivate respect is to create order. Give every dollar a purpose before it arrives. The 1% don't let money wander aimlessly. They assign it jobs. One account for essentials, one for savings, one for investments, one for joy. This separation isn't control, it's consciousness. When energy is organized, it flows efficiently. When it's scattered, it stagnates. You wouldn't pour water into your hands and expect to hold it. You use a vessel. Your financial structure is that vessel. Another layer of respect is gratitude. Every time you get paid, pause for 3 seconds and say, "Thank you." Gratitude expands what you appreciate. You stop treating income like a fleeting guest and start treating it like a trusted ally. The emotion of gratitude is scientifically proven to raise coherence in the heart and brain. It aligns your physiology with expansion. When you feel grateful for what you have, you signal readiness for more. Respect is magnetic. Now look at how you spend. Do you spend to feel better or to build better? Emotional spending is self-disrespect. It says, "I don't know how to sit with discomfort, so I'll buy relief." But the relief fades, and the regret remains. The 1% train their nervous systems to handle discomfort without self-sabotage. They feel tension, but act with wisdom. That's emotional maturity, disguised as financial strength. Every time you resist an impulsive purchase, you're not denying pleasure, you're strengthening your power. Self-control is spiritual muscle. Respecting money also means protecting it. Guard your accounts. Review your statements weekly. Audit your subscriptions. Know your risks. This is not paranoia. It's precision. The 1% don't lose track because they know energy unattended decays. Attention preserves. Attention multiplies. The more aware you are of where your money sits, the safer it feels in your hands. You become a reliable steward. Remember this. Respect is rhythm. It's not something you do once. It's something you become. You start small. You build the rhythm of checking, planning, saving, adjusting. Each repetition sends a signal, "I'm responsible now," and the universe mirrors it back with opportunities that match your frequency. The outer wealth begins to align with inner order. Finally, remember this truth. You cannot hate money and attract it. You cannot resent it and retain it. You must meet it with neutrality, neither obsession nor avoidance. Money is not moral. It amplifies the character of the one who holds it. If you use it consciously, it becomes a force of peace. If you use it unconsciously, it becomes chaos. Respect transforms it into harmony. So today, start treating money like it matters, because it does. Not for status, not for greed, but for the life it allows you to create. Clean your relationship with it. Speak to it with gratitude. Use it with discipline. Protect it with order. When you respect your money, you respect your energy. And when you respect your energy, the universe multiplies it in every form: opportunity, stability, peace. Respect is not an emotion. It's a practice. Make it your daily one. That's how you shift from surviving to leading, from scarcity to sovereignty. Because the 1% don't wait for wealth to start respecting it. They respect money first, and that's exactly why it stays. You've stayed with the message this long. That says something about your focus. Subscribe if you're building that kind of strength intentionally. Chapter 3. Grow your income without working more hours. You don't get ahead in life by working longer hours. You get ahead by working from a higher frequency, one that uses thought, creativity, and leverage instead of exhaustion. The 1% understand something most people never do. Time is limited, but ideas are infinite. Every wealthy person eventually learns to detach their income from their physical presence. Because if your money depends entirely on your hours, your potential will always be capped by your energy, your health, and your time awake. To grow your income without working more, you must shift from labor to leverage, from effort to efficiency, from sweat to systems. This is not fantasy. It's the natural evolution of consciousness. When you move from survival to creation, you begin to see money not as something you trade for time, but as something that flows through value. The 1% spend less time earning and more time designing ways for energy to move without them. They create frameworks where their focus multiplies rather than drains. Start with one truth. Your mind is your greatest asset. What you know, what you've mastered, what you can teach. These are infinite currencies. Every skill you possess contains dormant wealth. But most people never see it because they're busy selling time instead of building systems. You may think you have nothing special to offer, but look deeper. Your past struggles, lessons, or even your daily strengths can be transformed into value for someone else. The 1% constantly ask, "How can I solve this once?" and let it keep solving itself. That's leverage, turning your energy into something that works while you rest. It can be digital, educational, creative, or structural. Write it once, record it once, design it once. Let it serve thousands. You're not escaping work, you're elevating it. You're converting sweat into structure. Understand this principle in physics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. The same applies to your financial life. The energy you once spent working 10 hours a day can be transformed into the systems that work for you 10 hours a night. That is energetic mastery, the art of letting your intention outlive your effort. To get there, you must stop telling yourself the lie that more hours, more money. That belief belongs to survival consciousness. It's rooted in fear, not intelligence. The wealthy use their time differently. They spend 1 hour setting up something that saves them 10. They spend a weekend building a process that earns for years. They trade short-term busyness for long-term creation. You can do the same. Start identifying what can be automated, delegated, or scaled. Automate your savings. Automate your recurring tasks. Use tools that distribute your work while you sleep, platforms, services, templates, teams. Every minute you free from repetition becomes a minute available for expansion. This doesn't mean doing less. It means doing the right things. Activity is not progress. Progress is leverage. If you keep repeating low-value actions, you'll stay trapped in a loop of survival. But when you shift to high-leverage thinking, teaching, building, designing, investing, you begin to separate time from income. That's when freedom starts. The 1% also know how to invest, not just in markets but in meaning. They understand that money grows when it's given purpose. When you invest, you tell your money, "Go multiply." That's how they create momentum, even in silence. They buy assets that pay them: businesses, digital products, real estate, dividend stocks, intellectual property. Their money earns while they think, rest, or learn. They're not chasing, they're commanding. You don't need to start big, you need to start now. If you can set aside even 5% of your income for growth, whether it's learning a side project or a small investment, you're rewiring your identity. You're no longer someone who only spends. You're someone who expands. That's the consciousness shift that changes everything. Your second layer of leverage is skill stacking. You don't have to be the best in the world at one thing. Combine a few good skills, and you become irreplaceable. Maybe you're decent at writing and also good with communication. Maybe you understand fitness and social media. The combinations create uniqueness, and uniqueness creates demand. The marketplace rewards difference, not imitation. Another truth: you must raise your standards. The 1% don't underprice their time or talent. They charge with confidence because they deliver with excellence. That's not arrogance, that's accuracy. If you undervalue yourself, the world mirrors it. When you say, "This is worth more," you begin to attract people who agree. Price is not just a number, it's a declaration of worth. Surround yourself with people who already think this way, because your environment decides your income ceiling. Spend time with those who talk about systems ownership and scale. Observe them. Listen. Their language will stretch your thinking. Wealth is contagious, not because of money, but because of mindset transmission. Track your progress consciously. Set not only income goals, but energy goals. Ask how much of my income this month came from leverage rather than labor. How much of my energy produced exponential results instead of linear effort. When that ratio begins to shift, you'll know you're stepping into the 1% mentality. And finally, stay patient. Expansion is never instant. It's exponential. The seed does not sprout the day it's planted. But once it does, it multiplies far beyond the effort it took to sow it. The same with your systems, your skills, your investments. Small moves repeated consistently form the foundation of massive transformation. The world will tell you to work harder. The universe whispers, work wiser. One adds hours, the other adds impact. The 1% live by the second truth. They don't trade life for money. They use money to buy back life. That is the ultimate freedom, and it begins the moment you stop selling your time and start building your design. You can begin today. One system, one skill, one stream. Don't wait until you have more time. Design a way to multiply the time you already have. That's how you join the rare few who live free, calm, and in command of their energy. Chapter 4. Break your habit of spending to feel better. Most people don't lose money because of math. They lose it because of emotion. They spend, not from need, but from the desire to escape. Stress, boredom, envy, loneliness. These feelings all disguise themselves as reasons to buy. But money can never heal what emotion created. Emotional spending is not pleasure. It's avoidance. It's a quick hit of relief that leaves a quiet ache once the moment fades. The truth is, every time you buy something to soothe yourself, you're not purchasing peace. You're renting distraction. You trade long-term calm for short-term comfort. That's why you feel better for an hour, then worse tomorrow. The purchase fades, but the emptiness grows. The 1% understand this cycle, and that's why they don't feed it. They don't use money as medicine. They use awareness as healing. To break the habit, you must start with presence. The next time you feel the urge to spend, stop and notice. What am I actually feeling right now? Not what you want to buy, but what you want to avoid. Is it stress? Comparison, insecurity? The mind will try to run from discomfort through consumption, but you can interrupt that pattern in a single pause. Awareness is the gap where choice lives. Between impulse and action is the space where identity shifts. If you can master that one pause, you can master your financial destiny. Because emotion is powerful energy, and if you can channel it, you can build empires. Every moment you choose to sit with discomfort, instead of spending to silence it, you redirect energy inward, turning chaos into clarity. The 1% train themselves for this. They still feel temptation, but they don't obey it. They breathe through it, observe it, and let it dissolve. That's emotional wealth. Emotional spending also reveals what you've forgotten to nurture. If you're constantly buying to treat yourself, It's not self-love, it's self-abandonment, disguised as reward. Real self-love doesn't leave you with guilt afterward. It builds you. It strengthens you. The 1% replace the treat mentality with true nourishment, investing in learning, health, and growth instead of clutter. Here's a truth from neuroscience: the brain learns through repetition and reward. Each time you spend impulsively, you strengthen the dopamine circuit that says, feeling bad. Spend, relief. But you can rewire it. Replace the reward. When you feel the urge to buy, breathe deeply for 60 seconds. Journal what you feel. Go for a walk. Stretch. Call someone who uplifts you. Do something that releases emotion without debt. Over time, the brain learns a new pattern. Feeling bad. Pause. Calm. You've just rewritten a chemical code that ruled you for years. The 1% live by the 24-hour rule. When they want something, they wait a day. If they still want it after the emotion passes, they buy it consciously. Most of the time, the desire fades because it was never about the item. It was about the feeling. Try this for 30 days. Each time you wait, you build emotional muscle. And with that muscle comes money, because wealth is simply energy that wasn't wasted on impulse. You can make this practice sacred. Keep a notebook titled Emotional Purchases. Every time you buy something, impulsively write down what it was, what you were feeling, and how you felt after. Don't shame yourself. Study yourself. You'll start seeing patterns. You'll see that the same emotions trigger the same behaviors. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That awareness alone weakens the habit. Understand this isn't about restriction. It's about redirection. The energy you use to spend on numbing can now be used to create. The 1% don't chase happiness through objects. They design it through purpose. They don't shop for identity. They build one through discipline. Each time you choose awareness over impulse, you tell your subconscious, I no longer need to buy comfort. I can generate it. That is power. The emotional spender seeks escape. The conscious builder seeks mastery. One is temporary. The other is eternal. You can't buy your way to peace. You can only behave your way to it. True satisfaction is not found in packages, it's found in progress. When your life is filled with meaning, you don't crave distractions. The emptiness that once drove you to spend is replaced by alignment. Gratitude is the antidote. Each night list 3 things you already have that you once wished for. Feel the fullness of that realization. Gratitude reminds your brain that you're not lacking. You're living inside answered prayers. That shift in focus calms the craving for more. When you appreciate your present, you stop overspending for a future you don't need. Also recognize your triggers. Maybe it's scrolling online. Maybe it's a friend group obsessed with comparison. Maybe it's boredom after a long day. Once you know the trigger, you can design your defense. Replace mindless shopping with mindful creating. Read, move, learn. Build something that returns energy instead of drains it. Breaking emotional spending isn't about perfection. It's about awareness, repeated, until it becomes identity. At first, it will feel like resistance. Then it will feel like relief. Then it will feel like peace. That's when you'll realize you no longer need to buy the feeling because you've become it. When you stop spending to feel better, your life begins to feel better on its own. Your confidence rises because you're no longer escaping. Your savings grow because you're no longer leaking. Your mind clears because you're no longer cluttered with regret. This is wealth at its core piece that money can no longer buy because you already live in it. That is how the 1% think, and it's how you'll begin to live one conscious choice at a time. Chapter 5. Build savings so you don't panic during emergencies. Emergencies don't knock politely. They arrive unannounced. A car repair, a sudden bill, a health scare, a client delay. When that happens, one truth reveals itself. If you don't have savings, you don't have peace. You might have income, but without protection, you'll live in constant tension, a subtle hum of fear, under every decision. The 1% don't live like that. They build safety before they need it. They don't wait for the storm to start patching the roof. They build strong foundations in calm weather, so chaos never catches them unprepared. Most people say, "I'll start saving later." Later is a myth. There is no later, there's only habits repeated now. If you can't save when you have little, you won't save when you have more. Because saving isn't about amount, it's about alignment. It's a statement to the universe: I respect my future enough to protect it. Saving money is self-trust made visible. Every dollar you keep is a vote of confidence in your own stability. The 1% treat saving as sacred. They don't see it as deprivation. They see it as devotion. Because savings aren't about what you can't spend. They're about what you choose to keep safe. That shift in meaning changes everything. When you build savings, you're not hoarding, you're harmonizing. You're balancing inflow and outflow, giving yourself breathing room between what happens and how you respond. Without that space, every inconvenience becomes an emergency, and every decision becomes emotional. Savings transform panic into pause. They create distance between stimulus and response, the most powerful space in human growth. Start simple. Pick a percentage. 5% of every income, or even 2% transferred automatically the moment money enters your account. Don't wait to see what's left. Pay yourself first. The world will always give you new reasons to delay, but consistency compounds. Small deposits become protection, and protection creates peace. Over time, you'll notice your nervous system relax. You'll stop living in survival mode because your brain finally believes you're safe. Think of your savings as your calm fund. Every time you add to it, you're adding to your sense of calm, your ability to breathe when others are breaking down. The energy of calm is magnetic. It attracts better decisions, clearer thinking, and wiser choices. The 1% know this. They use savings not just to survive, but to operate from strength. Most people confuse saving with scarcity. But saving isn't about fear. It's about freedom. Scarcity says I must hold on because I'll lose. Freedom says I save because I'm secure. The energy behind the act determines its outcome. When you save with fear, you restrict flow. When you save with trust, you expand it. That's why wealthy people don't hoard, they circulate. They save to build confidence, then reinvest with clarity. There's a law in physics called potential energy stored power, waiting to move. That's what your savings are: potential energy. When emergencies come, that energy converts into motion, allowing you to respond instead of react. That's the spiritual layer of saving. You're not just storing money. You're storing stability, strength, and sovereignty. If you believe you can't save, track your money for 30 days. Awareness creates room. You'll see expenses you didn't even realize were optional small leaks that cost big peace. Cancel them. Redirect that energy into your calm fund. Watch how quickly those small amounts grow. Each transfer is a micro act of self-respect. Saving isn't exciting, and that's the point. Real wealth is quiet. It doesn't shout. It sits calmly in the background of your life, creating invisible protection. The 1% find satisfaction not in spending, but in security. They know that when everyone else is panicking, they'll still be standing. That's not luck, that's foresight. Build your savings slowly and sacredly. Make it a ritual. Light a candle, write your goal, and visualize that number growing. Attach emotion to the process, not anxiety, but pride. Feel the vibration of safety expanding. Each dollar becomes a seed of stability. Every time you save, you anchor a new identity. I am someone who is safe, steady, and strong. If you're paying off debt, you can still save. Start with both one step for now, one step for the future. It's not about perfection. It's about momentum. Even a small emergency fund, 1 month of expenses, can transform your energy. It turns crisis into inconvenience. And as your peace grows, your decisions improve, attracting even more stability. Review your savings weekly. Celebrate progress. Don't obsess over size, focus on consistency. Consistency signals trust to your subconscious, and trust attracts opportunity. The universe does not pour abundance into chaos. It rewards those who create order. So build your calm fund. Treat it as your temple of security. Protect it fiercely. Add to it faithfully. One day something unexpected will happen because life always happens. And when it does, you'll handle it with clarity, not fear. You'll breathe, not break. You'll act, not react. That moment will prove what saving was really about all along. It wasn't about money. It was about mastery over emotion, over panic, over circumstance. It was about becoming unshakable. Save to feel safe. Save to build strength. Save so your peace never depends on the world behaving perfectly. That's how the 1% live. Calm, prepared, powerful. You can too. Chapter 6. Stop buying things just to impress other people. If you want to stay broke, keep trying to look rich. If you want to become free, stop performing for people who aren't paying your bills or building your dreams. Most people don't spend for joy, they spend for validation. They buy symbols of status to convince the world and themselves that they're successful. But every time you do that, you trade authenticity for approval. You lose twice, you lose money, and you lose peace. The 1% learned early image fades, substance compounds. They don't need to prove wealth because they're busy protecting it. They understand that confidence doesn't come from possessions, it comes from clarity. When your self-worth is tied to your net worth, you'll never have enough. Because you're not trying to own things, you're trying to own a feeling that can't be purchased. Ask yourself honestly, who are you trying to impress? The people scrolling past your photos, the friend you secretly compete with, the family that measures success by brands instead of balance. Every time you overspend to impress, you feed an illusion that drains you. Those people aren't thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves. And while you're busy proving, the 1% are busy positioning, learning, investing, building leverage. They play a quiet, long game while the crowd burns out in display. The truth is, showing off is expensive, but authenticity is free. The wealthiest people often live below their means, not because they can't afford more, but because they no longer need to prove they can. That's real power, the ability to choose simplicity when ego demands extravagance, the freedom to say, I don't need more, I need meaning. This addiction to appearance starts young. Society trains you to link identity with consumption. The car, the outfit, the gadget, all signals in a status economy. But none of them add real value. They only feed the craving for recognition. The 1% break that loop by replacing external validation with internal metrics. They measure progress by peace, not possessions. They ask, am I growing? Am I aligned? Am I free? There's a reason why many rich people dress simply. It's not minimalism for trend. It's mental bandwidth. Decision fatigue is real. When you stop chasing image, you reclaim focus for things that actually move your life forward. Every ounce of energy you spend comparing, copying, or competing is energy stolen from creation. The wealthy understand this energetically. Comparison lowers frequency. Simplicity amplifies it. It's time to redefine luxury. True luxury is waking up without anxiety. It's paying bills without fear. It's being able to say no to anything that doesn't align with your peace. That's the luxury no brand can sell you. When you build that kind of wealth, you stop buying to impress. You start living to express. You buy because it adds value, not because it adds visibility. The 1% ask a simple question before buying anything. Will this expand me or just expose me? Expansion is aligned. Exposure is ego. If it expands your capacity, great. If it only expands your image, pause. You're not here to perform. You're here to progress. Psychologically, this habit of proving comes from scarcity of self-worth. When you don't believe you're enough, you reach for symbols that say you are. But worth built on objects crumbles when the objects disappear. The 1% cultivate internal worth. They don't buy confidence. They build competence. They don't wear success. They embody it. Try this challenge. Spend 30 days buying only what truly serves your life, not your image. Track what triggers you to want more. Notice how much of your desire is emotional comparison, insecurity, boredom. Awareness dissolves illusion. The moment you see how much of your spending is for show, you begin to take your power back. Social media has magnified this illusion. You see people's highlight reels and feel like you're falling behind. But remember, you're comparing your behind the scenes to their edited front stage. Most of those perfect lives are built on debt and performance. The 1% know this. They build quietly off camera while the world chases likes. Let people underestimate you. Let them think you're not flashy, because while they're upgrading labels, you're upgrading assets. While they're posing for status, you're positioning for freedom. And when the moment comes, when crisis hits or opportunity appears, you'll move with calm precision while others panic. That's the real flex. This chapter isn't about rejecting nice things. Beauty and comfort are not enemies of wisdom. It's about timing and intention. The 1% still enjoy luxury, but from a place of alignment, not addiction. They buy because it fits their system, not their insecurity. When you reach that level, every purchase feels clean, peaceful, earned. Minimalism isn't about owning less. It's about needing less. It's about realizing you already have enough. The more you release the need to impress, the more you attract people who are impressed by your presence, not your possessions. You begin to magnetize respect instead of chasing recognition. So stop performing wealth. Build it. Stop buying validation. Create value. Stop asking, "Do they think I'm successful?" and start asking, "Do I feel free?" Because that's the question the 1% answer every day. Freedom is quiet. Real power doesn't post. It prepares. Chapter 7. Use money to build freedom, not fake happiness. Money is a tool, nothing more, nothing less. But how you use that tool defines whether you live in control or in captivity. Most people use money to chase feelings, excitement, comfort, validation, distraction. They buy temporary highs to escape permanent emptiness. But you are meant to use money to build freedom. Freedom is not about never working again. It's about working by choice, not by necessity. It's about waking up calm, not panicked. When your bills no longer control your peace, when your time is truly your own, that's when you've mastered money, instead of letting money master you. The 1% understand this at a level most never reach. They know every dollar carries intention. Every decision about money is either strengthening freedom or feeding illusion. They spend with vision, not impulse. They buy time, not trophies. They use money to serve their highest values, not to fill emotional voids. You can see the difference in their vibration. When money serves you, your energy expands. You feel light, focused, and strong. When you serve money, your energy contracts. You feel pressured, restless, and reactive. You don't need to worship wealth. You need to align with it. Think of money as energy that flows where purpose lives. When your intentions are clear and your actions disciplined, the current of abundance follows naturally. But if your emotions are chaotic, that current gets blocked. Here's the truth. Fake happiness is expensive. Every purchase that comes from insecurity will cost you twice, first in money, then in peace. The 1% avoid this trap by asking one question before every transaction. Will this make me freer or more dependent? If it builds freedom through time, saved skill gained, or peace of mind, it's worth it. If it only feeds ego, it's debt disguised as joy. Use money consciously. Let it support your health, your learning, your relationships, your rest. These are not indulgences. They are investments in your capacity to think clearly and live long enough to enjoy what you build. When you let money serve your life, you stop chasing external markers of worth. You stop comparing. You stop buying symbols of happiness that never last. Instead, you start designing happiness through stability, simplicity, and purpose. Financial freedom isn't a number. It's a nervous system that's calm. It's the ability to breathe even when bills arrive, to plan from logic instead of fear. You build that calm through structure, a budget that protects peace, savings that create options, and habits that reflect respect. Spiritually, money is neutral energy. It takes on the vibration of the one who holds it. When handled with greed, it creates scarcity. When handled with gratitude, it multiplies. When handled with consciousness, it liberates. So stop letting money be your master. Stop trading hours of your life for moments of fake relief. Redirect your focus. Build systems that earn while you rest. Invest in things that last longer than excitement. Spend on what amplifies your purpose, not your pride. Because real success is not about how much you can afford. It's about how much you can walk away from and still feel whole. You don't need to prove your worth with possessions. You prove it through peace. You prove it when your calendar reflects choice, when your mind reflects order, when your body reflects rest. Freedom is the ultimate luxury, and money, when mastered, is the servant that helps you build it. Let it serve you, not own you. Let it buy back your time, not your identity. Let it build the quiet kind of happiness, the kind that doesn't need attention, because it's already enough. That's how the 1% live. And that's how you can too. Chapter 8. Know exactly how much you owe. Ignorance is not peace. It's paralysis dressed as calm. The moment you decide to face what you owe, every credit card, every loan, every silent balance collecting dust in your mind, that's the moment your power starts to return. The 1% never hide from numbers. They see them as neutral truth, not emotional judgment. Because truth is not your enemy. Avoidance is. Most people live with a fog over their finances. They know they owe something, but not how much. They push it aside, convincing themselves it's manageable. But what's ignored festers. Each bill you avoid, each notification you swipe away, adds invisible weight to your nervous system. That heaviness you feel when you think of money, it's not debt, it's denial. The 1% understand that clarity is control. You cannot fix what you refuse to measure. You can't master what you won't monitor. The simple act of writing down exactly how much you owe transforms chaos into structure. It turns emotional panic into a practical plan. Awareness may hurt for a moment, but confusion costs you every day. So take this as your command. Make a list. Not in your head on paper or a spreadsheet. Write every debt, every balance, every due date, every interest rate. Face the full picture without flinching. Feel the discomfort. Breathe through it. That's not shame. That's truth entering your system. That's your power rebooting after years of avoidance. The wealthy don't run from numbers. They talk to them. They ask, "What story are you telling me?" Because every number tells a story of habits, of history, of patterns. Once you read that story clearly, you can start editing it. Debt is not failure. It's feedback. It shows you where your energy has been scattered, where emotion overrode logic, where reaction replaced intention. But feedback is gold if you use it. From a spiritual perspective, debt represents unfinished energy exchange. It's a contract still calling for completion. Ignoring it keeps the energy stagnant, like water trapped in a closed jar. Facing it, planning for it, and repaying it releases that energy back into flow. Every payment is a frequency shift, from burden to balance. When you finally total your debt, something interesting happens. The fear shrinks. The monster under the bed loses power the moment the light turns on. You'll realize it's not as impossible as your avoidance made it seem. The mind amplifies what it refuses to see. When you bring it into view, you reclaim scale control and direction. Now create a plan, even a simple one. List debts by priority, highest interest, first smallest balance first, or emotional weight first. Choose one approach and commit. Automate payments where possible. Each automatic payment is a declaration of consistency discipline without decision fatigue. The 1% automate what matters, so they can focus on creation, not correction. Don't rush to pay everything overnight. You don't build freedom through panic. You build it through precision, one step at a time. Celebrate small victories. Each bill cleared is not just a number gone, it's a belief healed. The emotional residue of debt, guilt, anxiety, shame starts dissolving the moment you act, not the moment you finish. Here's what most people miss. Debt repayment is energetic training. Every time you pay down a balance, you're teaching your subconscious that you keep your word. You're reprogramming your identity from someone who owes to someone who owns. That identity shift radiates beyond money. It shows up in health, relationships, and confidence. The universe mirrors consistency. When you honor commitments, new opportunities begin to honor you. The 1% also understand. Leverage the difference between destructive debt and productive debt. Not all debt is evil. Debt used for consumption drains you. Debt used for creation expands you. A loan that buys liabilities traps you. A loan that buys assets, skills systems, or scalable investments becomes a bridge to freedom. But that requires discipline and awareness. You can't wield leverage if you're drowning in confusion. Clarity first, then strategy. Another truth. Your emotional energy around debt matters more than the number itself. If you feel defeated by it, you'll repel solutions. If you face it with calm focus, your energy aligns with resolution. Stop saying I'm drowning in debt. Say I'm in the process of clearing energy. Words change vibration. Vibration changes behavior. You might think, but what if I can't pay it all soon? That's okay. Progress is power. Consistency creates momentum. The 1% know that wealth isn't built in a day, it's built in rhythm. Each payment is a beat in the song of your comeback. And remember, no matter how deep the debt, the moment you take ownership, you rise above it energetically. Victims wait for rescue. Leaders create a plan. You don't need to have all the money to pay it off. You just need to decide that the pattern ends with you. When you know exactly how much you owe, You stop being haunted by guesses. You start sleeping lighter, breathing deeper. The noise quiets because truth always calms. Debt no longer defines you. It becomes data, and data is direction. So face it all, write it all, own it all. Not to feel small, but to feel strong. Because the moment you see every number clearly, you're no longer under its control, it's under yours. That's the way of the 1%. They don't fear truth. They use it. They don't hide from numbers. They command them. And that's what you're learning to do. One clear-eyed look, one payment, one promise at a time. Chapter 9. Get serious about learning what rich people do. Wealth is not an accident. It's a pattern. The 1% are not born into another species. They're born into another mindset. They study money the way scientists study matter. Curious, relentless, precise. Most people study entertainment. The 1% study systems. They don't guess their way to wealth. They engineer it. The tragedy is that information about wealth is not hidden. It's simply ignored. The world has endless free knowledge, but the average person would rather scroll than study. They want results without rituals, freedom without focus. The 1% understand that ignorance is more expensive than any investment. Every hour you spend learning how money moves compounds like interest, quietly, invisibly, inevitably. To build wealth, you must become a student again. Replace judgment with curiosity. Stop assuming what rich people are like and start observing what they actually do. Strip away envy and learn through neutrality. Because money, like energy, flows toward clarity, and clarity begins with understanding its mechanics. The wealthy read obsessively. They devour information about market systems, behavior, and psychology. They know money isn't about math, it's about mindset. They learn how people think, how emotion drives spending, how patterns shape economies. They understand that wealth doesn't reward effort, it rewards awareness. Effort without intelligence is exhaustion. Awareness without action is potential. The 1% marry both. They build what's called informational leverage, knowledge that multiplies output without multiplying time. When you understand taxation compounding or cash flow, you're no longer guessing. You're playing on purpose. Every decision you make becomes strategic instead of reactive. Spiritually speaking, money is a mirror. It amplifies your consciousness. The more disciplined your mind, the more abundant your life. The more chaotic your emotions, the more chaotic your finances. That's why the rich invest in their thinking before their portfolios. They don't chase tips, they build frameworks. Because principles outlive trends. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Poor thinking isn't about income, it's about repetition. If you repeat the same habits, the same beliefs, and the same environment, you repeat the same results. So the first step to wealth is upgrading your inputs. What are you feeding your mind daily? Whose ideas shape your reality? The people you listen to are your financial future in disguise. Rich people protect their environment like sacred ground. They spend time around builders, thinkers, and strategists, people who talk about ownership, not gossip. Energy is contagious. Spend time around the right frequency, and your financial vibration rises naturally. Your conversations start changing. You begin to ask better questions. How can I afford this becomes, how can I create this? That shift alone changes your life. The 1% are obsessed with optimization. They audit everything not from fear, but from mastery. They review expenses, time use, and habits with surgical precision. They see inefficiency as energy leakage. To them, waste is not just lost money, it's lost momentum. So they build systems, automatic investments, layered incomes, delegated tasks. Because every system they create buys back time. And time is the ultimate wealth. Rich people are also humble learners. They don't assume they've arrived. They hire coaches, mentors, advisors. They pay for proximity to wisdom. They know that being the smartest in the room means you're in the wrong room. Every breakthrough they buy accelerates them beyond what they could learn alone. That's not ego. That's efficiency. But here's the real secret. Most myths the rich learn from failure faster. They don't see failure as punishment. They see it as feedback. They fail forward, dissecting every mistake for the gold inside it. They know pain is tuition, the cost of deeper understanding. Meanwhile, the average person fears failure so much they never start. But starting imperfectly is the only door to mastery. You have to reprogram your emotional relationship with learning. Learning is not a chore, it's liberation. Every new skill removes one layer of dependency. Every piece of knowledge becomes armor. Learn how to sell, how to communicate, how to build systems, how to read numbers. These are not random talents. They are gateways to autonomy. Financial education is spiritual education. It's not about greed, it's about stewardship. You're learning how to direct the flow of energy in physical form. When you master money, you master responsibility, patience, and self-awareness. You begin to operate as a conscious creator instead of a reactive consumer. That's the real ascension, turning material knowledge into spiritual practice. Stop treating wealth like luck. Study it like law. Money follows rhythm, not randomness. The 1% know this. They understand cycles, they anticipate patterns, and they prepare when others panic. When you know how systems breathe, you stop reacting emotionally and start acting intentionally. So make your learning visible. Read daily. Watch mindfully. Take notes. Reflect. Apply. Journal what you learn about money each week. What shifted in your perspective? What beliefs you challenged? What new insight clicked? This practice rewires your brain for abundance. You're not just consuming information, you're embodying intelligence. Don't wait until you have more money to study how to manage it. Study now, when it's scarce. Because clarity in scarcity multiplies prosperity later. The 1% don't prepare after they're rich. They become rich because they prepared early. Knowledge compounds faster than interest. What you understand today pays you for the rest of your life. So get serious about learning what rich people do, not just how they spend, but how they think, how they plan, and how they stay calm when others crumble. Because when you learn what they know, you begin to see what they see. And when you see what they see, you start doing what they do. And when you start doing what they do, wealth stops being a dream and starts being your default. Chapter 10. Act rich by making smart money moves daily. You don't have to be rich to act like someone who is. You have to think like someone who is. Wealth begins in the smallest, quietest decisions made when no one is watching. It's built in the grocery aisle, in your online cart, in how you respond when temptation whispers, "You deserve it." The 1% don't wait for abundance to act disciplined. They act disciplined to attract abundance. Every choice you make with money sends a message to the universe about what kind of steward you are. Waste tells the universe you're not ready. Discipline says, "I'm prepared for more." Wealth is never just about accumulation. It's about alignment. When your daily actions align with your long-term vision, your energy starts moving differently. Most people believe they'll become responsible when they have more. But money doesn't change your habits. It exposes them. If you're careless with $100, you'll be careless with $10,000. If you can't delay gratification, now wealth will magnify your chaos later. The 1% understand this cosmic law. Abundance only expands what already exists. That's why they build structure before expansion. Start by creating rituals that make money respect you. Track your expenses weekly, not out of anxiety, but awareness. Review your goals monthly. Automate your savings so discipline becomes effortless. This is not about control. It's about consciousness. Each time you check your numbers, you affirm that you are the authority, not your impulses. Acting rich means detaching from emotion when you decide. The average person spends emotionally bored, tired, stressed, lonely. The 1% spend strategically aligned, patient, intentional. Before you buy anything, ask, does this feed my ego or my evolution? If it's ego, it takes from you. If it's evolution, it grows you. Being rich isn't about owning luxury. It's about owning clarity. It's walking into a store knowing exactly what you came for and walking out without the noise of impulse. It's opening your banking app without fear. It's feeling calm when others panic because you've built your foundation on data, not drama. That's what wealth feels like. Quiet confidence. Start small. A budget isn't punishment, it's permission. It gives every dollar a direction instead of letting it wander. The 1% live by design, not default. Their calendars, accounts, and commitments reflect purpose. They don't make decisions from how they feel. In the moment, they decide from who they're becoming. Energy-wise, every smart money move is an act of alignment between your current vibration and your higher self. Each time you save instead of spend, you're signaling that you value stability over stimulation. Each time you invest, you're declaring faith in your future self. Each time you say no to an unnecessary purchase, you're saying yes to your expansion. Smart money moves are not glamorous. They're repetitive. They're invisible. But that's what makes them powerful. The universe rewards consistency, not chaos. You don't need giant leaps, just small decisions repeated with discipline. That's how momentum forms. That's how the tide turns. Here's the blueprint. Pay yourself first, even if it's $10. You're teaching your subconscious that you come first. Live below your means, not because you have to, but because it builds breathing room. Eliminate emotional triggers. Unsubscribe, declutter, delete shopping apps. Audit your week. Where did your money flow? Did it expand you or escape you? Review your goals visually. Keep them visible, physical, sacred. Rich people love the process. They track progress, like scientists track growth. They know the numbers tell a story, and they read it weekly. When something's off, they adjust immediately. That responsiveness builds trust in themselves. That trust becomes magnetic energy that attracts opportunity. To act rich, you must also guard your time like currency. Time is the twin of money. Lose one, and the other follows. Stop trading hours for distractions. Stop scrolling through comparison that costs your peace. The 1% invest time, where it multiplies learning, creating, resting intentionally. You can measure real wealth not by what you buy, but by what you can ignore. When you can walk past temptation without tension, you've already entered another frequency. That's power, not the kind you show, but the kind you feel. Financial growth is a daily dialogue between who you are and who you're becoming. The old you says, just this once. The new you says, not this time. Every decision tips the scale toward one or the other. Discipline is not denial. It's devotion to your future, and that future is not far away. Each aligned choice pulls it closer. The moment you start acting rich, thinking long-term spending, consciously planning with precision, your life begins to rearrange. People will call it luck. It isn't. It's calibration. Acting rich isn't pretending. It's preparing. It's proof that your behavior has already caught up to your vision. You're living from your higher self before the evidence arrives. And when you live that way long enough, evidence always arrives. So, act rich not loud, but wise. Not for attention, but for alignment. Not to impress, but to evolve. Because the richest feeling in the world isn't spending money. It's knowing you no longer need to. Chapter 11. Build systems that make money work for you. The 1% don't trade time for money. They build systems, so money trades for them. They understand that true wealth isn't measured by how much you earn in a day, but by how much you earn while you rest. Most people spend their lives working harder. The rich spend their lives working smarter. The difference: systems. A system is a structure that multiplies effort without multiplying exhaustion. It's a machine that runs even when you're not watching. It's not magic, it's mechanics. Guided by discipline, you can build them in any area: saving, investing, income, even habits. The goal is simple: remove emotion, increase automation, and let time compound your consistency. Start where you are. Set up automatic transfers into your savings or investment accounts. Schedule bill payments to avoid fees. Create routines for financial check-ins each week. These may seem small, but they anchor your wealth energy and structure. The 1% don't rely on motivation. They rely on motion systems that keep moving, even on days when they don't feel like it. Think of systems as your second self, the version of you that never forgets, never reacts, never sabotages. When your systems are strong, you stop being your own bottleneck. You no longer depend on willpower, which fluctuates. You depend on structure, which compounds. Spiritually, systems represent trust in the flow of the universe. You're saying, I believe in my capacity to create and sustain order. Money respects that vibration. Chaos repels wealth. Order magnetizes it. The moment you organize your finances, opportunities begin to mirror that order back to you. That's not coincidence, that's coherence. Every dollar in your life should have a job. The 1% treat money like a team, not a toy. Each member has a role, some for protection, some for growth, some for joy. When you give your money structure, it starts to serve you. When you don't, it wanders, leaks, and disappears. Here's how the wealthy think about systems. Saving is automated, because humans forget, but systems don't. Investing is habitual. Small, consistent contributions that compound quietly. Reviewing is scheduled weekly audits that turn reflection into rhythm. Income is diversified, multiple streams that reduce dependence on one source. If you currently have one income stream, your first system is building a second. Not overnight, through observation. What can you teach, create, or sell that doesn't require your daily presence? The 1% turns skills into assets, knowledge into income habits, into automation. Imagine your financial life as an ecosystem. Every system you build strengthens the others. Your savings system feeds your investment system. Your investment system funds your freedom system. Your freedom system gives you time to build new ones. This interconnection is how wealth stabilizes, not through luck, but through design. The opposite of systems is reaction. And reaction is the death of prosperity. If your emotions decide how you spend, you're not managing money. Money is managing you. Systems neutralize emotion. They protect you from yourself. Let's go deeper. A system is not just practical. It's energetic discipline. When you automate, you remove friction between intention and action. You align your energy field with follow-through. And in that alignment, momentum accelerates. That's why the rich seem lucky. Their systems keep creating opportunities while they sleep. When a regular person is chasing the next paycheck, the 1% are tweaking and expanding their existing machines. They're free to think, to create, to rest, because the fundamentals are already flowing. Here's what to build right now. An automation system. Move 10-20% of your income directly to savings investments. No decision required. A tracking system. Use a simple sheet or app. Every expense, every income, every goal. Awareness equals power. A reflection system. Once a week, review progress. Once a month, realign your goals. Once a quarter, upgrade your plan. A growth system. Dedicate time weekly to learn books, podcasts, mentors. Knowledge compounds faster than interest. A gratitude system. End each day naming what your money allowed you to experience. Gratitude keeps abundance flowing. You'll notice the moment you build structure, chaos begins to fade. Stress softens. You stop chasing and start choosing. Time stretches, energy rises. That's the point. Systems don't just manage your money, they liberate your mind. The wealthiest people on earth are not the busiest. They are the most structured, because structure is freedom. When you don't have to constantly decide, you finally have space to design. The 1% are not superheroes. They are engineers of routine. They've built a life that serves itself. You can too. Start with one system perfect. Then add another. Soon your financial ecosystem will function on autopilot, peaceful, precise, powerful. And when that happens, you'll experience one of the greatest feelings a human can know, money working for you, not against you. That's not just wealth. That's alignment. That's mastery. ChatGPT said, Chapter 12. Master the energy of receiving. There is a point on the journey where you realize wealth is not just about what you do, it's about what you can receive. Many people can work, hustle, and build, but few can truly allow. Their hands are always moving, yet their hearts are closed. They chase abundance while subconsciously rejecting it. Receiving is an energetic skill. It requires openness, worthiness, and trust. Without those, no amount of strategy can sustain your success. That's why two people can do the same actions. One thrives effortlessly, the other struggles endlessly. The difference isn't intelligence, it's vibration. The 1% understand this invisible law. They protect their energy the same way they protect their accounts. Because energy is the first currency. It's the field that everything physical grows from. When your energy is calm, ordered, and aligned, money flows into that order. When your energy is chaotic, fearful, or scattered, even money that arrives will slip away. So how do you master the energy of receiving first? You protect your frequency like a sacred space. Every thought you think, every emotion you feed, either expands or contracts your capacity to receive. Fear closes, gratitude opens, comparison drains, presence replenishes. This is not spiritual poetry. It's neurobiology. Your nervous system regulates the flow of possibility. When it feels safe, opportunities are seen and acted on. When it feels unsafe, it hides and resists. That's why the 1% design their environments carefully. They reduce noise, drama, and constant stimulation. They know that peace is profitable. They surround themselves with people who speak progress, not panic. They spend mornings in quiet reflection, evenings in intentional rest. Their boundaries are not walls. They are gates protecting the vibration that attracts everything they've built. Second, you must clear the emotional clutter around worthiness. Many carry silent guilt. Who am I to have more? To succeed when others struggle. But guilt is a blockage disguised as humility. The truth is, your abundance serves others. Every time you rise in integrity, you expand what's possible for the collective. Receiving is not selfish, it's stewardship. It allows you to give, teach, build, and inspire from overflow instead of exhaustion. Remember, the universe mirrors your self-concept. If you see yourself as limited, it will honor that boundary. If you see yourself as open, capable, deserving, life will reorganize around that belief. You cannot demand what you secretly doubt you deserve. So practice worthiness daily. Speak well of yourself in silence. Celebrate progress, not perfection. Replace "I hope I can" with "I'm ready for it." Third, protect your energetic balance from leaks. Every complaint, argument, or doom scroll costs energy. Every unfinished promise drains focus. Every toxic connection pulls your frequency below the threshold where abundance flows. You wouldn't let your bank account leak unnoticed. Don't let your energy do it either. Create rituals that replenish movement stillness, sunlight solitude. Rest is not a luxury. It's recalibration. It's how the body opens its channels to receive again. When you rest without guilt, you tell life, "I trust the process. I no longer chase, I attract." Receiving also requires patience, not passive waiting, but peaceful knowing. The 1% don't panic when results take time. They understand timing is precise, not random. Every season has its purpose: planting, waiting, harvesting. If you try to harvest in winter, you'll think the soil failed, when in truth, it's just resting. Mastery of receiving means you stop forcing outcomes. You start aligning. You trust your preparation, your actions, and your energy to summon what is yours in perfect time. And when it arrives, you don't shrink. You don't apologize for being blessed. You hold it with gratitude and grace because now you understand abundance doesn't inflate ego. It amplifies essence. Money, success, and peace flow to those who are ready to hold them without fear of losing them. To hold more, you must be more calmer, clearer, cleaner in energy. Protect your peace the way you protect your passwords. Guard your mind the way you guard your accounts. Because your energy balance sheet is what truly determines your wealth. When you master the energy of receiving, you stop hustling for every outcome. Life begins to meet you halfway. You move with quiet confidence, knowing that what's meant for you can't be missed, because your frequency has become the signal that calls it home. That's how the 1% live, not chasing, but aligning, not begging, but allowing, not controlling, but trusting. Chapter 13. Reprogram your money mindset. Every transformation begins in thought. Before money multiplies in your account, it must first multiply in your mind. If you still think like someone surviving, you will unconsciously recreate survival, no matter how much you earn. That's why real wealth is not learned through numbers, but through neurology. Your brain repeats whatever is familiar, not whatever is true. If you've spent years believing that money is hard to keep, that success requires struggle, or that wealth belongs to others, those thoughts have carved neural pathways that shape your perception. You don't see reality, you see the code running beneath it. To change your outer world, you must rewrite that code. This is what the 1% do differently. They understand that money is an echo of mindset. They treat their thoughts as architecture. Each belief is a beam holding up their financial structure. If one is weak, the whole system shakes. So how do you reprogram? 1. Audit your inner dialogue. The voice in your head is either your mentor or your saboteur. Listen carefully. Do you often say, "I can't afford this," "I'm not ready," or "people like me never get rich"? Those phrases aren't harmless. They are affirmations disguised as complaints. Each repetition teaches your subconscious to limit possibility. Replace them with statements that expand instead of shrink. "I'm learning how to afford it." "I'm building readiness every day." "I belong in spaces of abundance." This isn't blind positivity. It's brain training. Your subconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to repetition. The more you affirm capability, the faster your identity rewires around it. 2. Shift from victimhood to authorship. You are not at the mercy of economy, upbringing, or luck. Those factors influence, they don't define. The 1% own their outcomes. They study their patterns, take responsibility, and upgrade their strategies. Every time you say, "I choose," instead of "I can't," you reclaim creative power. The universe mirrors ownership. Victims attract rescue. Authors attract opportunity. When you rise from reaction to responsibility, your frequency changes. That shift alone begins to magnetize solutions that once seemed invisible. 3. Redefine your identity around wealth. This is where most people fail. They want wealth, but their self-image still matches scarcity. You cannot hold what you subconsciously reject. You can't live like the 1% with the emotions of the 99%. Ask yourself, who do I become when I'm truly free? How does that version of me walk, speak, plan, spend, rest? Now begin acting like that, not after success, but before it. This is the law of identity creation. The brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and experience. It believes what it repeats and embodies. So practice the posture of your future self until it becomes your natural state. That's how the 1% evolve, by being the person their wealth requires, before the world reflects it. 4. Detach from fear-based discipline. Scarcity-based motivation sounds like I must work harder, or I'll lose everything. Abundance-based discipline says, I choose excellence because I'm capable of more. One comes from panic, the other from power. The first burns you out, the second builds you up. Fear may start your journey, but love for your vision must sustain it. Every time you make a decision from pressure, you reinforce lack. Every time you choose from alignment, you reinforce abundance. 5. Reprogram through environment. Your surroundings are software for your subconscious. What you watch, read, and listen to writes the code of your beliefs. If your environment constantly speaks struggle, your nervous system normalizes it. Replace noise with nourishment. Surround yourself with people and spaces that remind you who you're becoming, not who you were. Protect your mental atmosphere like the vault of your future. If you allow negativity to flood it, you're leaking energy from the inside out. 6. Integrate mind, body, and spirit. Mindset work isn't just mental, it's biological. The thoughts you repeat release chemicals that shape emotion and behavior. Meditation, breath work, or quiet walks rewire your nervous system to feel safe in abundance. Safety is the foundation of receiving. If you don't feel safe having more, you'll unconsciously push it away. Wealth requires capacity. Capacity comes from calm. Calm is built through consistent regulation. 7. Align habits with identity. You can't just think rich. You must behave rich quietly, strategically, responsibly. Track your money. Keep promises to yourself. Show up early. Speak truth. Every small act of integrity teaches your mind that you are capable of holding more. Each aligned habit becomes a message to the universe, I'm ready. Each broken promise becomes a delay. So keep your word even when it's inconvenient. That's how trust, both internal and external, compounds. 8. Repetition creates reality. Transformation doesn't happen through intensity. It happens through consistency. The 1% don't reprogram once they reinforce daily. They journal affirmations, visualize results, study their emotions, refine their self-talk. Every morning they reset their frequency like tuning an instrument. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be intentional. Every thought that honors your future self is a deposit into your new identity. Reprogramming your money mindset isn't about pretending. It's about remembering that you were born limitless, and everything else was learned limitation. When you clear the old code, the mind becomes fertile ground again. Ideas sprout. Confidence blooms. Opportunities find you, not because you chase them, but because your vibration now matches them. That is how wealth expands, not from striving, but from evolving. The old you survived. The new you builds. And soon, you'll look around and realize your world finally mirrors what your mind decided long ago. Chapter 14. Build wealth that outlives you. There comes a point when building wealth is no longer about personal gain. It's about legacy. You've learned to manage, to save, to invest, to expand. Now the question becomes, what will all this mean when you're gone? The 1% think beyond themselves. They don't just build comfort, they build continuity. Their wealth moves through generations, through ideas, through impact. Because true wealth is not what you keep, it's what continues. When you begin thinking this way, your definition of success evolves. It's no longer, how much can I have, but how much good can I create? How long can it last? This shift from accumulation to contribution marks the birth of real abundance. Wealth that outlives you is built on 3 pillars: values, vision, and vibration. 1. Values. The moral architecture of wealth. Money without values is noise. It grows without direction and eventually collapses under its own weight. The 1% know that wealth must serve something larger than self-interest. Their decisions align with principles: integrity, generosity, responsibility, long-term stewardship. Ask yourself, what do I want my wealth to stand for? Not the brand names, not the trophies, but the message, because everything you build becomes part of your energetic signature. When you earn with honesty, your wealth carries harmony. When you cut corners, your wealth carries chaos. Energy doesn't lie, and money simply amplifies whatever it touches. Build from values that can stand a storm. Build with fairness, gratitude, and truth, because those vibrations compound far beyond your lifetime. 2. Vision. See beyond the now. Most people build for comfort. The 1% build for continuity. They think in decades, not days. They plant trees whose shade they may never sit under. Vision means seeing beyond your own timeline, understanding that your work, your systems, your wisdom can support others long after you stop breathing. It's the shift from success to significance. Start by creating assets that live without you. Businesses, investments, intellectual property, teachings, even small acts of service that ripple through lives you'll never meet. Every system that functions without your constant input is a legacy seed. Vision also means preparing those who come after you, not just financially, but mentally and spiritually. Teach your children your community, your students the mindset you fought to earn, because inheritance without wisdom becomes destruction. Knowledge is the real generational wealth. Ask yourself, if my time ended today, what system, lesson, or creation would still breathe because of me? That answer is your next mission. 3. Vibration. The energy that echoes after you. You may leave behind money, but what people remember is how they felt in your presence. Energy is the most transferable form of wealth. It imprints on the people you touch. When your vibration is grounded in peace, discipline, and love, that energy doesn't die, it expands. Every act of kindness, every moment of integrity, every quiet display of strength adds to your spiritual portfolio. These are investments that compound across generations, not in banks, but in hearts. The 1% who truly master life don't just manage assets, they manage energy. They understand that their internal state creates external legacy. That's why they prioritize balance over burnout, clarity over chaos, purpose over pressure. Because when your energy is clean, what you build endures. Building wealth that outlives you doesn't require billions. It requires intention. A teacher who leaves wisdom, a mother who leaves strength, an artist who leaves beauty, all have created eternal assets. Legacy is not something you chase at the end. It's something you craft every day through alignment. When you choose honesty over ease, you're building legacy. When you mentor someone with patience, you're building legacy. When you keep promises long after motivation fades, you're building legacy. This is how the 1% think. They don't just build empires of money. They build empires of meaning. Because one day, the numbers will fade. But the impact, the energy, the example, the love, will echo through time. So ask yourself now, what will outlive me? Then build that with the same dedication you once gave to survival. Wealth that outlives you is not measured by applause or status. It's measured by the peace you leave behind and the doors you open for others to walk through. That is the ultimate success. That is the highest return. Chapter 15. Live like you've already made it. The secret the 1% never hide, but few truly grasp, is this. You don't wait to become successful before you live like it. You begin now. Not through excess or pretense, but through alignment. Because success isn't a destination, it's a frequency. And you only reach that frequency by tuning yourself to it in thoughts, in habits, in how you move through your day. Most people say, when I'm rich, I'll finally rest. When I make enough, I'll start taking care of myself. When life slows down, I'll enjoy it. But the 1% understand something deeper. That day never comes. The future version of you will act the same as your present self unless you change your state now. You don't become abundant because you have more. You have more because you finally learn how to be abundant. 1. Embody success before it arrives. The wealthiest minds act from identity, not from circumstance. They don't fake it, they train it. They wake up with gratitude, they plan with precision, they walk with calm authority, long before anyone else recognizes their worth. They've practiced their energy so consistently that their reality eventually has no choice but to match it. This is not illusion, it's neural conditioning. Your subconscious only knows repetition. Every time you act from confidence, gratitude, and purpose, you are installing the identity of success into your nervous system. Ask yourself, how would I speak if I were already there? How would I treat my time, my health, my money, my relationships? Then start living that way, quietly, daily, faithfully. 2. Build an environment that mirrors abundance. You don't need luxury to feel wealthy. You need order. The 1% care for their surroundings because energy is communication. A clean desk, a well-kept home, a calm morning ritual. These things tell your subconscious, I live in structure. I deserve stability. When your environment reflects peace, your mind begins to operate from peace. And peace, more than hustle, attracts prosperity. Even something as simple as lighting a candle, making your bed, or organizing your wallet becomes a declaration of self-respect. You're signaling to the universe, I am ready to be trusted with more. 3. Speak like wealth. Words are codes. Every sentence you speak programs your vibration. The poor use language that limits, I can't, I hope, if I'm lucky. The rich use language that affirms, I'm creating, I'm aligning, I'm building. You can feel the difference instantly. One leaks energy, the other generates it. So monitor your speech. Let your words carry authority, calm, and certainty. When you talk about your future, speak from completion, not craving. That subtle shift turns manifesting into magnetism. 4. Move with calm confidence. The 1% never rush. Their energy says everything unfolds on my timeline. That unhurried presence is not arrogance, it's trust. They trust the process, their preparation, their vibration. When you slow your movements, breathe, before reacting, and speak, after thinking, you're embodying leadership energy. People and opportunities respond to that rhythm. Because confidence isn't loud, it's steady. It's the silence between effort and surrender. 5. Spend intentionally, not emotionally. Living as if you've made it doesn't mean reckless spending. It means respectful spending. You use money as a mirror of discipline, not ego. You buy things that enrich your peace, not inflate your pride. The 1% never confuse image with identity. They understand that every dollar is a vote for the kind of life they're building. So they invest in growth, in time, in health, in tools that multiply their clarity. Luxury is not about brand names. It's about having the freedom to choose simplicity and mean it. 6. Celebrate without waiting for proof. Most people delay celebration until the finish line, but the 1% celebrate the process. They know that gratitude is a magnet. Every time they acknowledge small wins, they're expanding their capacity to receive more. So clap for yourself. Celebrate the effort, the progress, the courage to keep going. This isn't arrogance, it's alignment. When you live as if you've already made it, you collapse the gap between dream and reality. 7. Let peace replace pressure. You can't manifest abundance from anxiety. You can't force wealth into existence. The vibration of ease is more powerful than the vibration of control. The 1% move with peace, not because everything is perfect, but because they've decided to stop fighting life. They know that peace doesn't slow results, it accelerates them. Because a calm mind sees opportunity faster than a chaotic one. To live like you've already made it is not pretense, it's preparation. It's the rehearsal that trains your energy to hold what you've been asking for. It's the way you say to the universe, I'm ready. So start today. Wake up with gratitude, speak with authority, spend with wisdom, move with peace, and treat every moment like a reflection of your highest self. Because the truth is, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And the moment you begin being that version of you, success has no choice but to find its way home. Epilogue. Peace is the real return. When you first began this journey, you wanted money, stability, comfort, security. But as you went deeper, you realized money was never the real goal. It was peace. Peace in your decisions, peace in your sleep, peace in knowing that you are the master of your own life. The richest people on earth are not the ones who own the most. They are the ones who need the least. Their wealth isn't measured in numbers, but in calm. They wake without panic. They work without fear. They give without expectation. That is the real freedom wealth was meant to create. Peace is not the absence of ambition. It's the refinement of it. It means you no longer chase, you attract. You no longer grasp, you guide. You move through life with rhythm instead of resistance. The universe responds to that frequency with trust. You spent years trying to control outcomes, to make everything perfect before you could rest. But peace is not a reward you earn later. It's a discipline you practice now. The same way you budget money, you must budget energy. Spend it wisely, save it often, and invest it in what truly matters. When you protect your peace, you protect your potential. You make better choices, speak with clarity, and attract relationships that nourish rather than drain. Every dollar you manage with awareness becomes an echo of your calm. Every boundary you hold becomes proof that you respect your life. And here's the paradox of all wealth. When you stop chasing money to feel secure, you finally become secure enough to attract more money. Because peace expands capacity. Peace is the proof that you have mastered yourself, and self-mastery is the highest currency in existence. So as you close this audiobook, remember, the 1% didn't find peace after success. They found success through peace. They learned that prosperity follows serenity, not the other way around. Every lesson you've learned, discipline, clarity, respect, awareness, was never just about finance. It was training for peace. Because when your inner world becomes ordered, your outer world follows. You are no longer just managing money. You are managing energy. You are no longer reacting to life. You are designing it. You are no longer waiting for freedom. You are living it. So breathe. You've already begun the transformation. Let peace be your compass. Now the metric that guides every choice, every relationship, every investment, every yes, and every no. Because the ultimate return on all this work isn't a number. It's waking up each morning, calm, clear, and certain, knowing that you've built not just wealth, but wisdom. That is the real success. That is the real 1%. If something you heard today shifted your perspective, help it reach one more person who's ready for change. And if you want to keep growing with us, subscribe. This space will be here when you need it.